I'm paying for my own job.
I'm like, give me a subscription, but I gotta get the free subscription because I do feel so left out of like all this season. I've never heard Mike and the Murdoch.
It's FOMO. There's a lot of FOMO going on. Like there's all of a sudden we just like, quintupled our fucking original content.
Right.
So there's a lot to keep up with. So if you're a true stoolie and you want to be down with the cause, get on SiriusXM Power 85 and get yourself a free trial. Hank Moody, Fox Mulder, David Duchovny. Let's get it. All right, now we're back. Joined now by David Duchovny. The music you're listening to is his new single, Half-Life. That's out on the new album, Every Third Thought, February 9th. So, David, you're one of these bastards who can just do it all, huh?
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, it's a real
Correct.
Like. Fuck you to guys like you, where it's just
Totally
okay, so you
agree.
do everything, huh?
Fuck me.
Yeah, it's like leave a little bit more for the rest of us, okay?
I agree, totally. I don't know what's wrong with me.
So I'm going to be good looking and a good actor, and hey, guess what? I can sing and put out a new album as well.
Fuck him.
That guy sucks.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, man. So we have been we're big TV fans. We're big Californication fans. Been watching you, growing up on you. You're one of those guys who I feel like, depending on who you're talking to, you could be known as a million different characters, a million different jobs, a million different roles. To some people, to us, I feel like you're Hank Moody.
Right.
I would imagine a lot of people, it's the X-Files.
Yeah.
It's a wide array of who that guy is, this person to me.
Yeah.
What do you identify with the most?
It's a good question, but it's odd because when you're doing these things, when you're portraying these characters, it's like I don't think about myself as identifying at all with either of them. It's just like this character that I came up with from the words that I got on the page, when I first started doing it, and then certain kind of behaviorisms came out of that, and at this point it's just like intuitive if I were to play either one of those guys. So I don't know. I mean, there are certainly aspects of both characters that I like a lot.
They're two of the characters like you grow up like wanting to be. Like it's the rebel without a cause in Hank, and then the guy who saves the world every fucking day in Fox Mulder. So you get pretty lucky with those two.
I did. Again, we should just say fuck me.
Yeah, really, son of a bitch. Hank Moody is, I think, just one of the most like interesting, dynamic characters of all time. For years, I was always kind of like, I wish I could be Hank Moody.
Yeah.
I've unfortunately, my personal life is a little bit up in the air at the moment. I made some bad decisions, and in the public eye, I am becoming Hank Moody.
Right.
And now I'm like, shit, I don't know if it's as cool as I thought it was,
Probably
man.
not. Probably not.
I mean, did you ever have any thoughts of like what? If people were like, "Oh, Hank Moody's such a badass, he's so cool," and as the actor, were you like, "Actually, it's a pretty fucked up life"?
I used to do that all the time when the show was on the air. People would come up to me and they'd say, "Oh man, I am Hank Moody," and I'd be like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that, folks. You don't want it.
Are you watching the same program?
Right.
Things are not working out for this guy.
It's glamorized, it's cool, but in the end,
the funny thing was, you say glamorized. It's true. Like the creator of the show, Tom Kapanos, really conceived of it as he's a writer, and he wanted like a fantasy world, which he wanted to be the real world, in which a writer is attractive to women. So that's really like the whole show was his fantasy camp of like, what if there was a world where a writer was something that was attractive to women?
Well, he knocked that out of the park because it worked.
Right. Was it tougher to deal with the fans coming up and saying, I am Hank Moody, and you're like, I'm sorry? Or is it tougher to deal with, like, you must get a lot of fucking nerds from the X-Files?
How many times have people come around to you and say, the truth is out there?
A lot.
Yeah, we're like, oh yeah, shut the fuck up, nerd.
I get a lot of I'll hear, as I'm leaving somewhere, I hear somebody start to whistle the theme, and it kind of makes me a little pissed off.
Do you ever get people who, like, come up and, like, try and talk? Like, can you talk aliens for real?
I'm not really good at it. I can probably fake it.
You can bullshit it?
Yeah. I mean, you better be able to by this point. I mean, I think you could start saying X-Files stuff as if it was real, and people would be like, oh, yeah, no, the Cancer Man, that's a real person. And yeah, the X-Files is a real thing from the Pentagon. Like,
yeah.
do you believe in aliens?
Oh, do I personally?
Yes.
I believe...
you know what? Just lie to me. Because if you tell me that you don't even believe in aliens as Fox Mulder, I'm going to kill you.
No, I believe that I mean, honestly, I think that the odds are that there's other life.
You'd have to imagine.
You have to imagine.
Right.
It's a big world.
Right.
It's a huge world, and then you throw dark matter into it, and it's like we're only seeing 30%
Right.
of it. So we can't be the only ones, but
We had that video that came out that the Pentagon released just recently, like a month or so ago, where they're chasing. It's like the
went
fighter
so-
pilots being like, "What the hell is this?" And no one cared. It was
So
crazy.
under the radar. It was like not
it's
even
not
a big
as
deal.
much fun as Trump fucking a porn star.
True story. What we need to do is get Trump to fucking alien, and then we'll get the alien awareness.
What do you mean need to? It's happened.
So when I got word we were going to be interviewing you, like I said, a lot of people will think of you as Hank. A lot of people think as Mulder. The first thing that popped into my mind,
This is sick.
I was like, David Duchovny. There's some reason softcore porn is popping into my brain, and these guys were like,
Red Shoe
"What?"
Diaries.
And I was like, "I'm pretty sure he was in a porn." And
No,
I
it's
looked it
not
up.
porn.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
listen
porn.
to me at this age, when I was stumbling upon it, I was
so
like, this
innocent.
was
Now
the
looking
best
back.
thing I ever came across. It was erotic. What is it? It was described as something ridiculous, like erotic entertainment or something.
Is that right?
And I was like, yeah, this is it. But you
know what
narrated
you
that,
know
right?
What I called it?
What?
I called
Paycheck?
it. Dave gets to pay the rent this year.
Yeah, let me see. This was the description was the erotic anthology cable series, Red Shoe Diaries.
That does sound good. It sounds. I'm getting a little hot over here just reading that.
So you would just run in there, do your narrating thing.
Yeah,
be
it was the best job ever.
I mean,
'Cause after-
voiceover work has got to be the best thing of all time, no?
Oh yeah, I mean, they had to pay me by the episode, right?
So there's a lot of fucking episodes, I think.
Well,
no?
there's a lot of episodes, but I would come in. Actually, I shot that maybe a year or two before the X-Files, and I happened to be in Canada shooting the X-Files, but I owed them episodes, and I was able to come down a couple weekends of the year when I was shooting the X-Files to LA to shoot Red Shoe Diaries wraparounds, we call them, and I could do like 6 in a day, and it's like, wow, 6 episodes in one day. That's
Vlog. Yeah. Did you ever watch? You ever listen to yourself narrate softcore porn, David?
Not really.
Did you ever think about the fact that there was a lot of dudes out there listening to you narrate softcore porn, being
Well,
like,
I was like on either end of the shows. I was like lonely guy in a cafe reading softcore letters from disaffected
you
women.
were.
And I had a dog. So I was down with my character. He was kind of a lonely guy with a dog and reading letters. And then what happened after I started reading the letter, I had nothing to do with. And then they come back to me, and I'm like, oh, it must have been what he's been imagining in his head. It's like, oh, now he's going to be a lonely guy with a dog.
So, but you got to realize that as the show comes back to you, there's many guys out there wrapping up. Like,
really unhappy that I'm now on screen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a quick like, okay, well, the fun's over now. David's back on the screen reading his letters with his dog.
That explains a lot of the hostility out there. towards me. Now I finally get it.
Another thing that jumped out with these guys, they all said to me, you got to ask him about his hands. You got to see his hands.
Zoolander.
So you were a hand model in Zoolander. My friend John here is known for big fat baby hands.
I've discussed it.
If you look at them, they look like swollen and stumpy fingers.
I blame it on the fact that I used to crack my knuckles like incessantly as
That's
a kid. It was all I
ridiculous.
ever did.
Big fat baby hands.
Yeah, let me look at them. They look like a baby just enlarged. It's like an X-Files hand.
I saw a doctor about it. I saw a doctor about it when I was like 12, and they were like, because they're crooked, they're mangled. It's a fucked up hand, Dave.
Were you a catcher?
And I was a catcher. Yeah, I played a little catcher, little center field.
So
Yeah,
But
why is the other hand fucked up then?
He fair question. He kind of calmed me down by saying exact same hands as Larry Bird. No idea why he would have known that. I don't think he ever diagnosed Larry Bird.
Not real. That's what you say to kids
as a
with fat hands.
And then I'd get made fun of all the time. I'd be like, you don't even understand. Larry Bird has these hands. I want to be in the NBA one day.
Larry Bird hands.
No. You got nice hands?
They're fine. They're not.
Yeah,
They're
good
no.
hands.
They're no. I'm not a hand model for sure. That was a stretch.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Toughest role I ever played.
I was going to say another example of you as a shining actor. You can be a hand model even with boring hands.
Hyperbaric chamber.
And the last one that jumped out at me, I just remember you from Beethoven, dude.
Wow.
My sister watched Beethoven like 1,000 times in a row, and you just played the biggest dickhead ever on Beethoven.
Yeah, that was one of my first jobs.
Was it?
And that's where I met Bonnie Hunt, who I did Return to Me with. And
never know who you're going to meet when you're doing like some dumb dog movie and all
Whoa,
that.
hang on here.
I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I watched Beethoven more than both you guys combined. Okay?
Probably. But it was exciting. I got to see Beethoven in the theater. It was like one of the first movies I did that actually came out in a lot of theaters. And I remember going on the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica back in the day and like, oh, there I am.
I'm not reading porn scripts anymore. Like I made it to the big screen.
Exactly.
When we sat down, you said we are going to talk a little sports. New York sports.
Yeah.
You're from New York.
Yeah.
What's up with them?
True.
They're not very good.
Well, the Yankees look good.
Where do you fall? Where do you align?
Yankees.
See,
Yankees, Giants?
I actually, when I was growing up, because I grew up in
Yankees,
Boston.
Jets? See, that's your one. I call you people gypsies. You don't make sense. when you're Mets, Giants, or Yankees, Jets, it makes no sense.
I hated the Mets growing up. I think I don't hate them now.
Well, there's not much to really hate.
I didn't care about the Giants growing up. I'll root for the Giants. I'm pretty.
So do you
I'm
have
a
any
Knick
stake
fan.
in the Super Bowl? Like
Not really.
as an
Not
Eagles
really.
or Boston?
Not
Nah.
really.
Well, I mean, you got to root against the Patriots with all of your heart, like the rest of us.
I don't, because I just heard in the last interview I did that Tom Brady's a big X-Files fan. So now I'm.
You son of a bitch.
That's the way
That's
it goes.
fair. That absolutely is the way it goes. If I found out that Tom Brady listened to my podcast,
Right.
I'd be like, "Let's go, Pats!" I would flip so fucking quick it would make your head spin. You said you're a Knicks fan, though.
Yeah.
That's where you're a basketball guy. That's like your true.
Yeah, we've been
passion.
rebuilding for the last 40 years.
Rebuilding in the least efficient.
Just you wait. Just you wait.
I always say that, like, the football town split apart, baseball town split apart. The Knicks is the one place where the whole city comes together, and it's the one franchise that never puts it together. And
It's been a while.
the day they do, though, man, I mean, the city is like a different place. These guys all came down from Boston,
Dude,
and
that's
I'm
what
like,
everyone
I
said.
promise
It's a basketball town. How
I
do you
know.
know?
Well,
It hasn't been like
do you
in your whole
remember,
life.
Were you here for Linsanity?
That's the litmus test where
that's the closest.
That's
for
true.
2 weeks we just had a point guard playing well. That was it, and the city was like rushing to the bar to watch the game and like
It's
buying
true.
jerseys and like
true.
it was just somebody was on a hot streak. That was it in the regular season. It was crazy. So God, if that team can ever put it together.
Yeah.
And so now you're onto this the music career. How long have you been doing that? I mean, obviously you've had music in your life, but like
No, not a long time.
just picked it
Just
up.
picked it
Just
up.
grab a guitar and a mic, and all of a sudden I'm fucking good at that too.
Yeah.
Dude, the last time we were in here, we sat down. We were with Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Jamie Lannister, and he's kind of the same deal as you, where he's like, yeah, I play a little piano, I act.
Who's that?
Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Jamie Lannister from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And he does Greenpeace, and he's on the same level of you. And I haven't had that disdain since I sat down with him, and now I'm feeling it again for you.
Yeah,
you
disdain.
can't be good at
Yeah, have you ever
everything.
also like saved babies from a burning building and like you can cure cancer too? What else we got here, pal?
I'm working on it.
The music is like kind of a passion project. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point you're set,
Yeah.
you're famous, you're good.
Yeah.
But this is your new.
It was
I
just
guess-
another way to kind of express things that I wanted to express. It was really it started off as a very personal. It wasn't a project. It was just like me writing songs for me, and then it was me working on songs with a buddy, recording them for me, and then it was me making an album, with other musicians, and then I was now people are going to really hear this. And then it was,
You're
This
getting
kind of
worse.
sounds
This is
like
more
how,
annoying.
how George Clooney accidentally became a billionaire.
just gonna
He's like,
say,
yeah,
I
I was
just
just
like
making
tequila.
tequila
Yeah.
for me, and then
is that what he said?
And
Yeah.
then I decided to sell it, and now it's worth $1 billion.
It's like, oh,
Maybe
people.
Yeah.
Oh, I can make money off this. People will pay for it.
Tequila.
That's
Tequila. Yeah, but tequila's a good idea.
What's your drink of choice?
I like tequila.
You're a tequila guy?
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I would encourage you to start one because apparently that's a
You
booming
throw a
business.
Hank Moody label on there?
Oh
true.
my God! You kidding me?
Come on.
You should sell
We're
all
cutting.
sorts of
Fuck
Hank
that.
Moody
You're out.
stuff.
You're out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
We're doing
get at least 50% of that when you do it.
That's a good idea.
Hank Moody tequila would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I could use it right now. Like I said,
Me too.
could be drowning. Where originally in New York are you from?
11th Street and 2nd Avenue.
Are you still? I mean, you went out west for a while, I'm sure, but
Yep. I love Los Angeles.
yeah.
too.
So a lot of people leave New York, they go out west, and they go soft.
Yeah, I went.
Did you go soft?
Sure.
As you should.
Yeah.
As you should.
Absolutely.
We work with Michael Rappaport and we bust his balls about it a lot, and he
Yeah.
always kind of fights it. He's always kind of like, "No, fuck you. I'm still in New York," and I'm like, "Why,
Dude, you were
I
just
would-
drinking a matcha on your way back from yoga.
yeah. You're in New
Literally,
York.
that's what you were just doing. You went soft, man.
I feel like
the
people have
winters,
pride.
the winters are tougher.
Yeah, it's like this place sucks. I'm like bitter and jaded and angry all the time. I don't want to be New York. I would love to go be SoCal.
And the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess LA sports,
Pretty bad now,
Yeah,
too.
it ain't much better. So you can't really jump on that bandwagon at all.
Oh, Los Angeles Rams had a little bit of
Yeah,
beer.
that's true. A little bit. do you feel any like LA sports vibe out there? Or do you just, you go out there and you do your work?
Fun. It was fun when they had Shaq and Kobe. It was great. It was great to go. Great to go watch. So
were you sitting courtside watching those two?
Yeah.
So whichever way the wind blows, that's where David's going.
That's exactly right. I had there was a picture. I was at a game. I think it was Portland. It was a playoff game, and Lakers were up big by 30 in the fourth quarter. So the guy sitting next to me, the Laker bench was to the left, and I was here under the basket, and the guy sitting next to me, who I think might have been Glenn Fry from the Eagles, and I can't remember, but it might have been Glenn Fry. I know it sounds like a very Hollywood story.
Yeah, really.
So anyway,
Larry David tripped over my foot, and
so Glenn Fry, I think it was, had left. So there was this courtside seat open, and they took Shaq out of the game with 8 minutes to go because it was over. And Shaq, instead of going to the bench, sat next to me, and everybody's laughing. And
what's up, Diesel?
Yeah. And then in the paper the next day there was a picture, and I looked so small next to him. I looked like his ventriloquist puppet. And I still have that picture. It's a great picture of me and Shaq.
We went to we had a meeting at Reebok a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, and they have a Hall of Fame, I guess, of sorts of his shoes.
They're a fucking joke.
It was the most absurd thing. It was a forearm. It was my entire.
I actually thought it was like a prop. I was like, all right, where's his real shoe?
Yeah.
You could sleep inside that thing.
But he made those guys look small.
You're right. He's big on a whole other level.
Yeah, he was.
You see, Barkley and Shaq stood next to The Rock.
Yeah,
and The Rock looks tiny.
Right.
And The Rock's a freak.
Yeah.
Are you a fan? Do you watch TV? Watch movies?
Yeah,
what are you a fan of?
Unfortunately, I still watch TV like a guy my age grew up watching TV, which is I turn the TV on and I see what's on.
Whatever. You're missing out.
Yeah, there's a whole new world, man.
I know.
That's like being I still just open up Playboy and look at the magazine. There's a whole other way to consume this, bud. It's a lot better now.
I've heard about this thing called air travel as well, which I really want to check out.
To bring it back to the X-Files here as we wrap up.
Californication, by the way, one of the best Netflix binges. I've rewatched it a time or two since, and it's you just roll into the next one. It's fantastic.
I bet.
We actually did a couple years ago. I made a bracket of 64 TV characters during March Madness and let all the fans vote. You unfortunately got knocked off by Larry David. I feel like that's an honorable death. If you're gonna lose,
when was it?
I think it was the Elite Eight.
No,
it was a good run.
When,
it was a couple years ago, probably.
You see, maybe because if we were still on, maybe I feel like we could have gotten further.
You want me to run it again?
No, because we're not on. I want you to time travel.
Well, you got X-Files back up again, so.
Yeah, but it's a different character. Elite Eight, I'll take that.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good run.
There's no shame losing to Larry David.
When the chance to do X-Files came back up again,
sure.
I feel like that's kind of the reboot, the remake. It's kind of been in vogue recently.
Yeah.
Was that something you were hesitant to do? Kind of like I want to leave it as is, or you were
no,
like, let's go?
I think when I first left the show, I was afraid of being typecast a little bit, or that being the only thing I was going to do. But being able to do Californication and do other things, even doing music and writing, I felt like, well, it's just not. That doesn't feel like. I'm not that worried about it.
It's not like you were a one-trick pony, going back to a crutch. It was just like a reprisal of a fun role.
I felt like I was a few-trick pony going back to.
Yeah, you're a pony. you're like a full horse at this point, to be honest. Would you have been resentful? I have a problem with people who are very resentful of their character that made it, or if you're a band that's sick of playing the hit. It's I get it. Of course, I understand. You think you can do more, but that's what made you your money. That's what made you your fame. That's what made you this cushy SoCal life.
Right.
But you think had you not been able, yeah, exactly. Next to Glenn Fry.
I'm not sitting next to Shaq without the X-Files. That's for sure.
Do you think though that had you not been able to do Hank Moody and whatnot, you would have been a little more?
I had my moments probably, but I just think people. I think most of those people that you would talk to as they mature, they get over it.
You to appreciate it, kind of.
I see that. Yeah.
I mean, what was it? Leonard Nimoy. He had that book, I'm Not Spock.
Yeah.
And then he published I Am Spock. Right.
Right. Eventually, you come around.
Eventually, people love what they love, and who am I to rain on their parade?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, it's you're living a life that many people would love because of that. So.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll wrap up here. I guess I want to ask you, as a guy who was Hank Moody, talking to a guy who, like I said, is unfortunately finding himself as Hank Moody. What would Hank Moody do? What? Give me a piece of advice here.
You just tell the truth. Always, just tell the truth. And let the chips fall where they may.
That was some good fucking advice right there.
And that's comedy.
The chips are falling. Yeah. All right. I'll tell the truth. The truth is out there. See, that's how you wrap it all up. The X-Files. Thanks, movie. It's all comes together. All right. Thank you very much, David. Really appreciate it. Anytime you want to talk.
Thank you.